Hello, one and all. Welcome to the opening stream of Style Esports Season 16. We did have some games that were played yesterday, but it will be the first match of the season for tonight's competitors as Hail of Spades gets ready to take on No Quarter Gaming in a best of three. We have a brand new patch tonight that we are going to be discussing just a little bit. Professional leagues across the globe are moving into playoffs, and today was the start of a new ranked split as well. This is certainly an exciting time to be a league player. As I ready for myself for the sun to begin its descent over Chicago, I turn to see it rising over Summoner's Rift as we begin a style season for what could be the last time. My name is Chris Crewman. I am honored to be here tonight alongside the terrific TDS. How do things look from where you're sitting, my friend?
Well, looking out the window, I can see the sun coming down as well. So we're pretty much also looking at a similar sunset, I would assume, and expecting to see what will happen with style tonight and for the rest of the season. It's a good way to start off of a lot of new things coming out, and I'm excited to see how these teams are going to perform, especially with a newer patch like you were pointing out.
Absolutely. Is there anything in that new patch that you feel is particularly noteworthy, TDS? It seemed like a lot of the changes that were made were relatively minor, but is there anything that really did catch your eye?
So first one is the slight nerf to Rel that I do think it's not going to push her out of the meta, but her being a little bit more squishy certainly it's going to help out in terms of trying to shut her out or shut her down before fights happen or fights are happening. Could be a really interesting dynamic that we begin seeing against her. And then one that caught my eye, even though I'm not sure how much of an impact it's going to have, it's the change that Serath received. Because now, if I'm not wrong, his passive gets 2 seconds off its cooldown if you kill, I think it's targets. So it counts for minions and I think it counts for champions as well. But the most ideal part is the minions. You now get the passive reset much quicker. You can provide your passive much quicker, and you also get extra shots on your ultimate now. One more at level 1, and it goes up off of that. So now there's 4 shots with the first ultimate. That's a lot of damage that it's going to be accumulated. Plus the fact that now stacked bolts of the ultimate will deal extra damage onto the same target. Can be a really interesting one, and it's one I'm interested in seeing how much does it impact the value of Seraph in the mid lane.
Certainly. Those Xerath changes did seem noteworthy. I agree. But no Xerath or Rel priority in this first draft just
Sadly.
yet. Tale of Spades have quite a bit of jungle focus, honestly, on both sides. As, okay, there's the Rel. But the Jarvan, Rek'Sai, Amumu, and Lilia were all banned away, in addition to the Silas and Alistar. So this Rel first pick is nerfed a little bit, TDS. You still think it's B1 worthy?
I would like to say no, but at the same time, I do understand why it's B1, and it's not only because of its potential to engage on champions and have that much initiation power, but it's also the flexibility. It still is a viable
Yeah.
jungler right now. So the
Yeah.
fact is that you can actually flex around with it and find quite a bit of value between two positions with the rel. So it's still understandable why it's a first pick. And then to answer the Ash, which has been rising in priority, I do think that you need to have a lot of damage mixed up with the Ash because she's much more of a consistent DPS threat, but she's not going to be the one that hyper carries a fight. You need someone else to do that.
Well, certainly No Quarter Gaming have some more options in their draft to get some additional DPS set up for themselves, but it's going to be the Renata paired up alongside the Ashe. An interesting choice to prioritize so early on. It's a very defensive choice, wouldn't you say, TDS?
Feels like one that tries to get as much control early on over a lane. And even though I do agree, it probably is a little bit early to try and go for the champion, it's still one that can find quite a bit of value early on, and it already kind of sets you up for the potential to get a good picks off of the map. With the thing though that surprises me is that they go for the Ash Renata when Kai'Sa is still up, and I think Kai'Sa is still a
Yeah.
really really strong champion currently that can be played around. That being said, there was a slight change or nerf to the static shift dispatch as well. So I'm kind of curious to see how much does it impact static shift champions like the Kai'Sa. And then Aatrox did receive buffs as well. So I'm kind of interested in seeing
Mm-hmm.
how he does in the new patch as well.
Seems like a really strong early rotation for Hail of Spades, in my opinion. You know, with the Kai'Sa and the Aatrox coming through, like you were just saying, Kai'Sa has been so strong recently, across pretty much all levels of play. You know, there is the little bit of the static shiv nerf that you mentioned, but Kai'Sa, I don't feel is necessarily tied to that item. There's a lot of other build paths that she can actually look towards. So I still think the pick is really, really strong right now. The Aatrox damage on the Q was buffed on this patch. Seemed like really some really nice buffs for the Aatrox up there. And then the Zoe is going to come out in response for No Quarter Gaming. So clearly going to be wanting to try and play at some range here, but already the makings of a pretty nasty dive comp over here for Hail of Spades.
Exactly. It's going to be quite a bit on what they can achieve going forward on some of these champions. And realistically, there's three squishies in the backline of No Quarter Gaming. So trying to dive onto them can be a really good plan by Hail of Spades, and that's why they want to try and complete their composition with some of those ideas. The last band from No Quarter Gaming, not coming through. It seems like it's
Galio.
going to be the Galio,
Yeah.
apparently. And then the Ivern to close it out. So quite a bit of the junglers remaining, plus the champions that do have good initiation follow up or initiation potential.
Yeah, certainly. No Quarter Gaming definitely still needing to lock in a jungler. Hail of Spades might still want one as well if they do want to put the Rel in the bot lane with Kaisa, which, as we know, is a pretty strong duo. Although the Rel would likely struggle into the Renata, so maybe we do flex that into the jungle. What are your thoughts there, TDS, as we see the Cassante get locked in on R4? So what does that?
That's good. Okay, they are sending the Wind Wanderer into the mid lane potentially here. They do have good knockup with the Rel, plus it's going against a Zoe. The wind wall value can be quite nice. I was thinking with the Rel, you can actually go for the Leona in the bot lane and try and play with that support. But now with the Yasuo, maybe they go for a Gragas or a Malphite elsewhere. The Braum does have another
Hmm.
knockup, so they are going to opt into another support. The Rel going into the jungle plus the Yasuo. You do have now two knockups to try and facilitate for that. Yeah, technically you do have more. Aatrox counts as knockups as well. So there is quite a bit that you can try and knock up for this Yasuo to find value. And all in all, if the Kaisa goes AP, which could technically happen as well, now your team composition has multiple sources of damage that are going to be interacted with that maybe makes it so that the Kaisa's full AP damage doesn't get negated at all, doesn't get built upon, and that can be much more valuable for Hail of Blades. Closing it out with a Graves, a carry jungler.
Definitely an interesting choice for the side of No Quarter Gaming and for DMFK in that jungle. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on the R5 Graves in just a second here, TDS. But first, I do think we should maybe talk about the Braum a little bit. You know, as you mentioned, he does have that knockup that can help out the Yasuo, you know, to find those big ultimates potentially. But besides that, I do feel like the Braum is maybe a little bit at odds with the rest of this draft of Hail of Spades. Pretty much everybody wants to dive in, and Braum can dive in, but that's not necessarily his strength. So I am a little
Yeah.
bit surprised to see it come out. But what are your thoughts on the R5 Graves there? It's not going to really be offering too much more in terms of frontline, but does give a little bit more consistent damage, perhaps.
Well, that's why I was thinking more on the Leona than the Braum as a potential pick here. Since the Nautilus was banned, that's the other one that you typically think to try and go in. Leona would at least follow up on with the rest of the team to try and get onto the backline or onto the enemy team. Braum, like you're pointing out, it's not the best of engaging supports, but it does have ways to try and get on top of certain champions. And the fact that you will have a shield for the Kaisa and potentially for the Yasuo as well, depending on some of the poke and the damage on the other side, could be quite valuable for the overall team. I think it's more of a this defensive solution that does have ways to follow you up on than just a straight up committing to the full on engage. I feel like that's another alternative to look. Obviously, it does make your engage a bit weaker because now this is not a champion that is designed to engage, but more so to survive the engage. But it does give you extra survivability potential that the team may want, especially with how aggressive it's built on. Like this team is all in or nothing, but trying to put the Braum on top of it does provide them a bit of a safety to try and play around with.
Yeah, I like
Just a
that.
bit.
I like that a lot. You know, the Braum, if there is a Zoe bubble or an Ash arrow that needs to be blocked, or even a Graves ultimate, right? The Braum can absolutely find a lot of value there. So
Yeah.
I think it does make some sense when we consider it from that angle, TDS. But I do think we should take now into account the sort of bot lanes as a duo. You know, we have a new patch, as we already mentioned tonight, but I imagine that the teams are likely still going to be playing, if possible, around that bottom side of the map, as has been so common in
Yeah.
recent times. So, considering the bottom lanes of Kaisa Braum versus Ash Renata, you know, the Ash Renata was quite face up. No Quarter Gaming locking that in very, very early. How do you expect these bot lanes to be interacting, TDS?
It's going to be a complicated situation for the side of Halo Spades in terms of the early bot lane. because with the range advantage, Ash Renata can just poke you out really effectively. And Kaisa is one of those champions that thrives upon being able to get on top of the targets, right? But this goes to the fact of the Braum, right? Yes, defensively, it's a really good pick to try and dissuade and deny some of that damage. But to follow up on what the Kaisa really, really wants to do, you want a champion like Rel, like Nautilus, like Leona, like Alistar, for example, as well, that goes in, stacks up the passive for the Kaisa, and you can get a huge burst of damage. Braum is not going to be finding that sort of equal value to those champions, and that's the scary part. If you don't get early engages for Hail of Spades, if you don't find early trades that you can try and make it so that you can put pressure onto these two squishies, and they are just going to poke you and poke you and poke you. And not only getting the poke value, but also controlling the bot side, controlling enough of the wave and control the space so that you can control early dragons and deny a lot of what Hail of Spades wants to try and shift, because they are a team that wants to play off of their early mid game value. If they don't find a lot of value there over on those stages, it's going to be difficult for them in the later stage of the game. And that's why the bot lane situation is going to be quite important. And I want to see how much Suit Dog on the rail is going to try and put attention down there on the bot lane.
Yeah, certainly. That is going to be a really interesting thing to track as well, right? Because if Ash and Renata are trying to play aggressively with the knowledge that it's going to be difficult for Kaisa and Braum to fight back, then they could expose themselves to a potential Rel gank. So we will have to track that going forward for sure. But we're into the spectator delay now, TDS. And before we go into a break, I just want to get your opinion on overall, which comp do you like better? Do you feel like either team has an advantage for our game one draft?
I like the consistency of the red side more. No quarter gaming. Technically, this is a composition that can build upon itself and does have good mix-ups here and there. And one important thing that I didn't touch much on that I feel like it's going to be pivotal later on, although shields are going to matter, it's the Renata. Renata ultimate here against a comp that will engage on you is
Yeah.
so good. But that's where Windwall and Brom's Shield may come into play. So I'm kind of skeptical yet on that. But I do believe that if it goes post 30 minutes, I would value no quarter gaming's come just a bit more.
All right. So we shall see. No quarter gaming definitely with some potentially strong lanes for themselves, particularly in bot and top lane. They're going to have plenty of damage, some good poke as well, but do need to be careful. They have the tools, but they have to watch out for the potential engage coming out from Hail of Spades. Will the engage be good enough, or will no quarter gaming give their opponents none? Don't go anywhere, guys. Game one right after this. All right, Style fans, welcome on to the Rift for our first streamed game of Season 16, and we're starting out with a little bit of fun, as we do see Hail of Spades pressing as 5 into the top side of the map. Piggy AI on the run. Cassante doesn't have the flash, didn't bring it into the game, is going to get stunned up by the concussive blows, and he cannot escape. Could have maybe popped the ghost to get away there, but elects to just hold on to the summoner spell, and we'll give over first blood to the Rel jungle.
It did force the flash off of the rail, and the ghost technically I don't think would have allowed for him to escape because then someone else flashes and that's it. But it does make it so that now the first blood for this rail didn't back, not going to be an immediate action, but a really good start for the side of the blue team, for the side of Team Hellblade. They are trying to get as much as possible of this first blood, and for the rail to try and maybe look for early plays can be quite ideal to have. The flash, maybe losing it, it's the worst part.
Yeah, definitely. Could be worse. Could be worse for the side of No Quarter Gaming, but still, not necessarily the start that you were hoping for. We do see that both squads did manage to get a ward down on that red buff, so Jungler is going to be starting on their respective blues. We'll see if either one is going to look to do anything with the additional information.
Yeah, honestly, it's not the vision for both sides to know where each jungler is starting. Although I would assume that based on how the K'Sante died and the fact that they kind of saw that the Rel didn't back, pretty much they should know that she was going to start anyway. And neither jungler is stealing from each other. This beneficiates the Rel a bit more because the Graves is going to be much quicker in the clear. So the fact that the Graves didn't attempt to go to steal anything is much, much better for the Rel.
Yeah, definitely is. This is Pog's getting pretty aggressive in the mid lane. It is taking a lot of damage in return, though, as the Ignite has already been used by Protide. So that's a little bit of a summoner spell advantage for the Yasuo. And this is a matchup that I think is expected to be difficult for the Zoe, if I'm not mistaken.
After level 3, it begins becoming much difficult because now you play around the fact that the bubble will be blocked by the... Oh, wait.
Oh, Soupdog did go in and manage to steal away that red buff. That's pretty big for the Rel. That's bad for Graves not having the red. He's trying to get some auto attacks into the horse now, but Soupdog just moving around, trying to play with the vision. Does get the W cooldown back over the wall, but the bubble will connect, and DMFK able to follow with the quick draw, picks up that kill in exchange. And that's just maybe a little bit of over-aggression from Soupdog wanting to go for that red. Would have been big if he'd been able to get out with it clean, but was not the case.
But that's the issue of not having the flash. You know that you can escape in that situation because you don't have the flash. I think from the rail, Soupdog thinking more than he could actually do. And I respect it, but at the same time, this is what happens when you take more than you can actually. Does give up 2 buffs, and now a bit behind the Graves.
Didn't have the prior in the solo lanes either to really make that invade something that he could realistically go for without expecting to get punished. You said it yourself already as well, as Graves clears pretty quick as the top laners scrapping out a little bit. Q3 available for Piggy, not going to land it though, as Flavius though is very far forward in the lane, and in comes DMFK on the Graves. Cassante going to go ahead and pop the ghost now. Oh, the Q3 is not going to find the mark as Piggy will just barely survive. Flavius still trying to fight off these guys in the 1v2. Q3 for the knockup, though. Piggy will find it this time and will claim his first of the game.
Flavius almost actually pulls it off. Tried his hardest, had a lot of upheld back thanks to his passive. Oh, wait.
Mommy Rodent flashing for the Q. Gets the slow. In comes the crash down from the Rel. Concussive blows stacking up. Muzra, one more auto attack. There it is. And that bailout is not going to save him. The Ashe goes down, and it's going to be the Spades fighting back in the bot lane. 2-2 on the scoreboard. Close game so far as we flash for the bubble, the Q, the paddle star to the turret, the rocket belt clean from Protide, really displaying some Zoe mastery with that play.
Really well executed there by the Zoe, playing with the advantage in that situation. We talked about it. It's on the wind wall. You play around your wind wall to deny bubbles and deny Qs. Early on, though, the cooldown is really, really high. If you use or misuse the wind wall, there can be a good opportunity for the Zoe to go for the kill. And Pox took way too much damage even before that happened. So all setting up, all allowing for the Zoe to stack up on you and get enough damage to get the kill. Really, really well done there by Protoid.
Absolutely. This is a lane that I was not expecting to be easy for the Zoe whatsoever, but Protide really making it happen so far in this one. Remember, the Yasuo was picked into the Zoe. This is Pogs' counter pick for this matchup, and not going super well for the Yasuo so far. They are pretty even on CS, though, at least.
Pretty close. Ooh.
Oh, this is a level 6 advantage for Protide here. Yasuo's just going to dash back through the minion. Oh, the Q gets around the wind wall. The Ignite comes down. Protide looking for another solo kill. This guy just got back to lane, and Zoe's trying to kill him again.
Yeah, and it's a really bad execution there by Pox. That's the thing.
Oh.
You cannot send your windshield like that. Oh.
As the pullback on the Umbral Chains for Flavius. Had the World Ender. Surprised, honestly, that the Aatrox didn't want to go for it there with the level 6 advantage as Rel crashed down to get away from the Paddle Star. On the side of No Quarter Gaming, will give none to the Dragon either as they pick up their first neutral. It's Flavius now underneath the turret. Did pop the Aatrox ultimate, but is pretty low HP. Can't collect the turret aggro right now. Oh, takes a shot there, actually. There's level 6 for the Cassante. Flavius has to get out here. We'll be able to walk it out, though.
Flavius tried to go for the aggressive play, doesn't execute on it with under the turret, so now it's forced out of position. And then Pox really needs to try and turn around the situation in the mid lane. Right now, Protide is such a big problem in the mid lane by himself that it's really even hurting the Rel. The Rel cannot go anywhere else because right now the attention is being focused on the mid lane. They lost out on the Dragon after getting a kill down there in the bot side because they didn't have control over mid lane. Maybe a fight here, though.
Oh, yeah, the collapse is coming through from the side of No Quarter Gaming, trying to defend DMFK on the blue buff. Concussive blow stacking up. Suit Duck pretty far forward. Trouble Bubble just barely going to miss there. The Duck feeling that one clip the edge of his wing, but they all will be able to walk out of this situation. They are not able to secure the blue buff, though. That does go over to DMFK.
Yeah, they may have taken quite a bit of damage, but at the end, nobody ends up dying. Losing out on the blue buff, though, technically it's DMFK's blue buff, so it's not like they lost out on it. It was his to begin with anyway.
They do waste some time.
Yeah, pretty much. But at the end, since nobody died, it's still just a pretty equal situation for both sides. And the fact that the golds is still even is a really good sign, technically, for the side of Hail Spades, because they are the ones that need to try and make it so that their early game becomes a little bit more potent on their side. So not being this behind can allow for them to get a better opportunity later.
Yeah, absolutely. That is very, very important for a low-range, dive-heavy composition like this, is you need to make sure that you are in a position in the game where you can win the fights. Because if you can't win the fights, you can't really do anything. So that is something that we definitely are happy to see, that this game is still a nice close contest so far. Recalling on a ward means that is going to get stopped. His Fortress Door going to get desynced from his carry a little bit here.
Yeah, but shouldn't be much of an issue since anyway the way that it's getting pushed is a canon one, so they are not going to lose much on it. And also, it's not big for them because the Kai'Sa and the Braum will back.
Situation in the top lane here as the all-out's going to come through. Flavius rapidly running out of health, and they just burst down the Aatrox. Now Suta gets the double Magnet Storm. In comes Yasuo. Pogs looking for the knockup. Has the last breath. As soon as he can find it, Q3 is going to come out, and he gets it onto them both. Pogs looking for the cleanup, and he will be able to keep his jungler alive as well. The mid laner picks up a double kill. Hasn't been able to do anything in this 1v1 against the Zoe, but does find success with the roam. Taking a lot of damage, though, from the Paddle Star. The Ignite coming out from Protide, but still gets knocked up on the return. Gets the kill, though. Picks up the shutdown onto Pogs, and Sutuk will be able to answer back. Very messy in the top lane, but I believe that was 3 for 2 in favor of the Spades.
It's really, really, really messy, like you're saying, but 3 for 2 in favor of the Spade. Really, really nice getting those 3 kills back. Yes, Rel collects the last one, but Yasuo now 2 kills, coming back into the game in a really effective manner. And all of that off of their initial roam. They move first as a unit, and that prompts them into having the better opportunity to try and collapse and get the advantage. Now they're moving for the Rift Herald on the side of No Quarter Gaming, which means that if they get this objective, could turn into a lot of plates. But 4 members coming.
Would be both early neutrals for NQG if they can lock it down. Here comes the contest, though. Jungler not going to be here in time, though, as the smite does come through from DMFK. As the fight starts out, the engage is absolutely massive. The triple knockup into the triple last breath from Pogs, and they will eviscerate the team fight on the side of Hail of Spades. Oh, NQG, they get the objective, but at what cost?
Yeah, the Graves may be wearing purple right now, but he's also dead, so I'm not sure if that's completely worth it for the side of no quarter gaming. The idea is not initially completely bad if you're able to get that without dying, but since they die, the value is not going to be
Oh,
that high. Oh, wait.
turret cleanse away on the Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Both sides it back and away, but Muzra only has time for one more auto attack. The turret shot not going
Oh
to be enough
no.
to get the trade back, and Alifaras finds the solo kill under the turret. Huge outplay from the AD on Hale.
A huge amount of damage coming through from the Kai'Sa there. And important to notice, I think she's going to go for the 80 Kai'Sa instead of going for the AP
Yeah.
variation. She has the serrated dirk, has the pickaxe, has a lot of the elf. Immediately went for the collector even.
Oh, DMFK gonna have to give up this Scuttle Crab. The second dragon is alive. Knockup gonna come
Ooh,
through.
nice
The
ulti.
hostile takeover does have to be used. Flashing forward though is the Aatrox. DMFK still able to get back over the wall with the ultimate. Now on to the objective for the side of Spades. Looks like they will be able to lock this down. Everything already used for no quarter gaming means they will not contest.
Yeah, pretty easy collection of the dragon. Could have been a great objective to get, or a great kill to get, better said, onto the MFK, especially because now you delay a little bit more of the herald. But at the end, they do collect the objective, and the Aatrox is not going to miss out on much because he was able to teleport up there on the top lane. That could make, though, a potential play down there on the bot side much more good for no
Yeah.
quarter gaming, since they do have the teleport off of the Keisante available still.
They do, but Piggy is kind of losing out on these trades. He's going to commit the all-out here to get away from the Umbral chains. Flavius does not have the World Ender right now, trying to get back underneath the turret, but Cassante, with the knockback, finds the shutdown. On the other side of the map, though, Alifaras finds another kill onto the Ash, and now Fortress Doors running towards the wrong Nexus. This Rel will be sacrificed to the Pog Lord as Yasuo picks up number 3.
Exactly. The bot side is being completely dismantled by the side
But
of Hail Spade. But at the very least, the top side is being salvaged really, really well by No Quarter Gaming, gaining this full turret plating on the top side, plus the kill onto the Aatrox, which I think it was a shutdown. I'm not 100%
it
sure,
was.
but
It was
it
indeed.
was.
Yes, it was a 150 gold shutdown. So
Okay, so shutdown
450 gold
plus
today.
5 plating turret, plus the fact that you deny so much minions from the Aatrox and the plate on the Zoe kind of salvages a bit of that situation. That being said, it's still a lot of down. Oh,
Okay, Pog's going to be dashing back now. Ignite committed by Protide
EMFK.
once again. Pog's dashing back forward now, flashing for it.
Oh.
We've got fights happening on different parts of the map. Salafaris will finally get shut down. DMFK, though, not looking like the Grave is going to be able to get away from this one. As the knockup comes through, the Glacial Fissure for the knockup. Protide, though, with the flash to get back underneath the turret. Here comes Piggy AI on the Cassante, still outnumbered.
Oh, the reading
NQG
gauge.
in the mid lane as the knockup will come through onto the Cassante. As Braum passive stacking up as well, but he cannot be killed because he is Cassante, so we will get back underneath the turret.
It's going to be technically a 1-for-1 since Alfaraz on the bot side did die. And the one that got the kill was the Ash, so at the very least a good shutdown going back into the pockets of No Quarter Gaming. I'm not sure how much value is it going to amount to later on, but it's good to see that neither side is really throwing the towel in any play, right? Both sides are looking for their advantages. One maybe getting a bit better than the other, but never really going too far away from each other. The gold lead is 2,000 gold at most.
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of trading here across the map. It seems like whenever one of these teams is making a strong side on one side of the map, the other team is finding something in response on the other side. That's just been happening consistently over the last several minutes through this early game. We do even have the dragons traded as well, so those are one apiece. Very, very tight game here so far, TDS.
It's making it really fun, though. A really good start to the season, if you ask me. A game this
For
close,
sure.
or at the very least, a good close game, can make it even more enjoyable to see.
Yeah, we are going to have a Cloud Soul, it looks like, this game, as nobody's making any moves at the moment. Which team do you think would benefit more from a Cloud Soul TDS?
It's kind of hard to say, but I would argue it's the side of Hail of Spades, really. They play a lot around their ultimate timings, and they have good ultimates to really buff them up. So I feel like having that extra movement speed plus the value in the ultimates could be much better for the side of Hail of Spades. It's still Cloud though, so I won't like try and hype it up. much
At
more
least
than
it's
it
not
is.
Chemtech.
True.
Well,
It's amazing that we live in a time where there's something worse than Cloud.
what a time to be playing League of Legends. But yeah, I completely agree. Would feel really, really nice for this Halo Spades composition, especially also considering the fact that they have the more aggressive, more early game oriented comp, right? So if we do go super late, the fights might not be too easy for them as Piggy is getting engaged on in a 1v2. Gonna go for the all-out over the wall. Gonna take a Soup Duck into an awkward position. The Magnus from 1-3 is good for the
Too
lockdown,
much.
though. And in come the
Ooh.
reinforcements. Hostile takeover. Not gonna be enough as Renata gets shut down. Another double kill going over to Pogs on the wind, on the Yasuo. I was going to say something that I probably shouldn't have. So we went back to Yasuo on that one. But yeah, another huge fight for the Spades. They will be able to take down Shirley as their reward.
And even though there was no Kai'Sa in that fight, it's still one of the potential fights that was better to try and win out for the side of Hail the Spades. They had their team fight. They're really effective, ready to start with the Yasuo, with the Rel, and with the Aatrox, with a lot of their damage. Plus the fact that they were able to catch in a really good spot the side of No Quarter Gaming, bursting them out in a really difficult situation. And because there was no Ash, they were lacking on damage. That's why the fight turned so positively in favor of Halo Blades. Now, we're looking at a potential Dragon fight, maybe?
A Stutuk is here. Is going to jump into the pit. It's a 50-50 on the Dragon. It does go to DMFK, though, as the Graves picks it up. They get their second Dragon. Now the team fight starting once again. Cassante in the thick of things, trying to focus him down. Hits Flavius with a huge three-man knock-up onto the back line. He's got all the CC, and the damage follow-up is absolutely there. It's going to be Hail of Spades drawing one in this team fight as they absolutely run over NQG. No. With the 4 for none. Lockdown over the wall. Protide, the last survivor. In comes Flavius. There's just too much CC. The Zoe cannot get away, and it's going to be the clean ace for the Spades.
Too much CC and too tanky. Only saving grace is that, at the very least, No Quarter Gaming gets the Dragon. But at the end of the day, 5 kills after a Herald was obtained, plus 4 kills from that fight as well, or 3 kills from that fight as well. It's just so beneficial for the side of Hill of Spades. They have everything in their favor right now. Ooh, wait.
Arrow connects. That's onto the Rel on the front line.
Still alive?
Able to survive for quite a while. Cassandra's going to take her over the wall. Will try to finish off that kill. Rel's still alive. Will eventually get shut down, but the Cassandra is going to get traded for it. And Flavius going back in with the healing. Look at that monster damage on the Aatrox, running over the back line once again. Protide has respawned only to find his entire team has been destroyed again. And it's going to be Hail of Spades with an incredible sequence. They've slingshotted themselves into a 9,000 gold lead at just under 20 minutes.
Yeah, Flavius trying his hardest there to really make the World Championship Aatrox skin shine as much as possible. 2 really good kills, a lot of value on their side. Yasuo wasn't even close. He was pushing the bot side, and that, in the meanwhile, will turn in a even more value for the side of Hail of Spades. I think they were like 3,000 gold short of 38,000. The previous one, now 38,000. So the gold lead that they have accumulated, really important for their comp. And with Baron coming out, they can either try and threaten the Baron with the huge advantage that they have right now, or threaten a team fight. Anything can work out for them.
Flashing forward because Yasuo does not necessarily have the reinforcements right now. He's going to go back in with the last breath, almost able to go 1-for-1, but ultimately Pog's just overstepping there a little bit, I think.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was the play, Pogs. A bit too hyphy for my taste.
That was a big shutdown, too, that Protide managed to snag for himself on the Zoe. So the poke damage is potentially going to be pretty nasty. These next few fights, that's at least a needlessly in the bank for Protide, or maybe even an item completion.
That's if they are able to at least give the opportunity for the Zoe to go there, right? Because right now, with the Baron coming up, could be a potential threat over on the side. And if they force the Baron, I'm not sure if Protide will get that opportunity. If she does get it, at the very least, second item power spike for the Zoe can be really ideal to have, especially in poke situations.
We shall see. We're going to need to play these fights slow on the side of an Oakwater Gaming, and straight onto the Baron we go. So yeah, absolutely. Good call there, TDS. It's the Hail of Spades that are not going to give the time
It's
for
dead.
Oakwater Gaming to regroup. This is a 20-minute, this is like the old T1 Baron that is just going to be spirited away by Hail of Spades. The Hawkshot comes out, but it's far too late. And they're just going to continue stacking up these advantages. Pogs went in for fun, in the mid lane there, but that was just to make their opponents let their guard down. It was all calculated, TDS.
It legitimately came at the time where the Baron died, so they knew exactly at the same time when it was taken. Really lucky. They do get a turret and a bounty at that, so gold, good gold coming back into their pockets. I feel like you should take that, right?
Yeah, well, it definitely, again, even now in a massive deficit, we still see No Quarter Gaming trading on the opposite side of the map, right? They're able to find some gold, but Protide is going to find a Rel waiting for him in the jungle. There's always going to flash over the wall. Protide actually managing to survive for now. In comes Alfar, though, with the Killer Instinct, and Fortress Door will not be getting away from this one as Rel goes down. Kasante going to bring Soup Duck underneath the tier 2, but the Rel's taking up to survive. And look at nobody is peeling for these marksman champions as Flavius and Alfaris are just cleaning up on the back end of this team fight. All out is Piggy underneath the tier 2 trying to defend, but there's just nothing going really for No Quarter Gaming at this point. They're continuing to fall further and further behind, and every single one of these team fights is all Spades.
It really is. They just have so much of an advantage, so much of a team fight potential there. And even though Protide is back to full health, he had to use the flash. If he gets caught out of position again, the Zoe will be a dead little girl. And that's something nobody wants to see. Maybe some sick people out there, but right now, it's all looking Hail of Spades.
It really, really is. We're able to break open the mid lane. There was Alfaris, while the rest of the squad was pressuring topside. And now we have our second Cloud Drake on the Rift. Some pings coming out from the side of the Spades, looking to move towards that objective DMFK in the area, but unlikely, I think, that the Graves is going to be allowed to contest this.
Now, if he tries to go way too far forward into the pit, he probably will get exploded immediately. So no, not a lot of chances there for that to happen. Thankfully for them, technically, it is just the fourth dragon of the game, and the second one only for the side of Hail of Spades. So it's not like they are going to find huge amounts of value off of that dragon, and they didn't push even further into the base, which already being the base broken and not losing an inhibitor can be a really good potential play or potential value for the side of No Quarter Gaming.
Yeah, I hear you, TDS, but it really does feel like No Quarter Gaming are kind of hanging on by a thread right now. The situation at the moment isn't necessarily a game losing, isn't... Oh, yeah, the fight's breaking out once again. The Chain Crystal Arrow, though, going to go wide as the teleport now into the play for Flavius. Aatrox going to join up with the squad as the Trouble Bubble, I think, did connect, but Paddle Star follow-up will not be there. Alfar's over the wall, going to get his hand shaken. A little bit of poke damage coming through, but he engaged the dive underneath the tier 2, and it's an annihilation already. The Yasuo has picked up a double kill in this fight. Muzzer's going to get absolutely eviscerated on the back line here, and Piggy is the last one to survive, but there's nothing he can do. He has nobody left to defend. And the Hail of Spades, and what was a very close, very back-and-forth game throughout the first 15 minutes or so, they stringed together a few team fights, and just like that, they're going to take the Nexus in less than 25 minutes, TDS. They closed it out so fast.
Really effectively, really well done, controlling how they needed to, and you called it out perfectly. The early stages really wasn't that different. They had, yes, a 3,000 gold lead, but it wasn't a super big difference. But a couple of fights going their favor, accumulating a lot of gold in those fights, and then turning that profit into huge value immediately into another couple of teamfight victories just made them so strong and so unstoppable. Huge teamfight huge game for the side of Hail of Blades, huge of Hail of Spades, huge value they were able to find, and starting off the series with a 1-0.
Yeah, absolutely. Really impressive from them, I feel, as they did manage to close things out very, very effectively once they found their lead. I liked their draft as well, with the pretty cohesive dive composition and the Braum flavor added in there to defend against the Zoe bubbles and the Ash arrow. Seemed like that worked really well. And they overall, I would say, played quite well as a unit. If you had to choose one player, though, TDS, who would be your POG for game one?
Has to be the Rel, I think.
Ooh, Soup Duck on the Rel. I like it. Why is that though?
The engages from the rail were really, really good and consistently finding value for the team. Had that a slight hiccup to start the game after getting the first blood inside of the enemy jungle, but after that, gank after gank after gank after team fight, finding so much value for the team, so much control. Barely died at all as well, so it's hard to not give it to him that finds so much value for the team in my eyes.
Yeah, I hear you, TDS. The Rel had a lot of really fantastic engages down the stretch there, and Sutuk overall, did have that little bit of a misstep in the early game where he went a little bit too over aggressive into the enemy jungle, but rallied quite well. And as you said, the fights were played out very, very nicely. Shout outs to Flavius on the Aatrox, did top out those
Sure.
damage charts at just under 24K, 7, 3, and 12 for him. And then Mommy Rodent with the perfect support KDA in the bottom lane, 1, 0, and 20 on Braum. Very, very nicely done by all of Halo of Spades. But now we do have to go ahead and get ourselves set up for game two. We're going to go into that short break, guys, but on the other side, the first streamed match of season 16 will continue. All right, everybody, welcome back. We are just about to get into our game two draft. Our squad's wasting no time as we are going to be getting directly underway here after that very, very short break. TDS, we do see that No Quarter Gaming have elected to move over to the blue side. What do you make of this adjustment?
Oh,
TDS?
sorry, I didn't hear what you said for one second.
Oh, it was No Quarter Gaming. We have choosing to move over to blue side. Do you feel like that's a good call?
Oh, now I can hear it. Perfect. Yeah, so this is the easiest fix that a team can always do, right? The fact that you move from
Yeah.
one side to the other, it's really the most easy to try and look at and the most easy to try and fix. It also does give you the priority that Rail took in the previous game. It's something that now No Quarter Gaming can try and take for themselves. Will it be the most effective? Maybe. Because one thing that Hell the Spades does seem to like was having their top laner be strong. And the Aatrox, even though it didn't come as a counter pick, now it gives them even a better opportunity to try and get a counter pick for topside. And if that's the case, can be a bit more scary for No Quarter Gaming.
Yeah, certainly. If we do see a nice counter pick come through from Halo of Spades, that could put themselves on the path towards the 2-0 tonight. just have to wait and see, though. No quarter gaming, of course, will get the B1 option this time around. Like you were just mentioning, could potentially take the rel for themselves, or if they have another pick, like the Kaisa perhaps, that they would like to prioritize, I think that would make some sense. Or the Aatrox. Yeah, Twitch chat, I'm with you there. Aatrox B1 could be the angle, but no, actually, it will be the Aatrox ban. That is, in fact, what we're going to be going for.
I'm kind of curious if the Kaisa is something that they do not play. Because the previous game, they had the opportunity to, at the very
It's
least,
true.
answer back with the Kaisa, and they didn't.
That's
So,
true.
kind of curious on that.
I wonder. It's time to find out. Is Kaisa in the champ pool for Muzra, AD carry of NQG, deliberating on their first pick? 10 seconds left on the clock. Misfortune. That was not on anybody's bingo card, I don't think.
At all. I didn't expect that to come, and I wasn't going to even call it out. But coming through now, there is quite a bit of lethality items that are good right now. So maybe it's playing around that fact. And if you do get one good team fighting composition around her, like we saw in the first game, could find a lot of value with the team fight ultimate. But canceling her out and finding ways to shut her down, it's not that difficult right now. The Rel is one of the better answers to her because it's so easy to cancel out the Bullet Storm. You just press any of the 3 abilities that Rel has, and it can cancel it. Any of the 3.
Yeah. You literally have to land any of your abilities, and you will interrupt that bullet time as the Rel. So feeling pretty good for Suit Duck. And honestly, yeah, you lock in the Kaisa again for sure. I was going to say they actually could just go ahead and snatch up the Braum here as well, because Mommy Rodent was so good on it, and it is such a great pick into the Misfortune. But, going for the Kaisa makes a lot of sense. You can sort of hide a little bit more of the draft this way and keep that Rel flex alive, at least through the end of the first rotation.
The Braum could get taken away now, though, just because I think Braum Misfortune is not necessarily a bad duo. And then against the Kaisa can maybe deny a bit of the damage that can come through from her. But the Kaisa Rel combo is really, really strong. And now Maokai and Lissandra. So Maokai is still a really, really strong jungler right now, and even can be played in the support position. Lissandra, though, is one that I'm really interested because she did get a bit buffed in this patch. Yeah. Her ultimate going to find even more value than before, and the Thralls now going to be a bit more consistent in what they are able to achieve. So it's going to be an interesting game with the Lissandra. Will it find a ton of value? Not sure. There's now an Amumu as well picked on the other side. Either support or jungle, funnily enough, you can flex the Rel or the Amumu in either position and they can go there. But now the team fighting value that Hail of Spades had in the previous game, once again repeating itself with these 3 champions.
Yeah, I'm expecting the Rel to go into the jungle just because Suit Duck was piloting it last game also. So just keeping the same player on the same pick, I feel like is what we can expect. But, as you were saying, those flex possibilities are very much alive right now. The Braum is going to get banned away from No Quarter Gaming. They don't want to see the Heart of the Freljord on the enemy team. Cassante going to be denied as an option as well. And yeah, the Lissandra changes. We're going to get to see him in action here, TDS. The other thing that I'm not sure if you mentioned was the Q now slows all targets hit. So that's another nice little buff for Lissandra. We'll see if that ends up being impactful at all, as the Rock is going to be the last ban from the Spades.
The Malphite, to me, makes sense just to follow up on the team fight potential, right? The fact that Misfortune with the Malphite, you can find a huge bullet storm that can terminate a lot of lives, makes sense to see it coming here. And it also kind of is a good negation from potentially having a top laner that deals a lot of physical damage. The Tristana pick here, going to be an interesting one. I'm not sure if I'm a huge fan of her just because there's a lot of point and click CC that can try and lock her down. So even if she has the rocket jump, if you don't prompt it correctly, can be canceled really easily. But going to be a fun champion to see over on the hands of Hail of Spades. And now the Ornn, and I'm expecting if the Maokai doesn't go to the support position, either Nautilus to come through or they go for something that can keep the Misfortune safe. Maybe something like the Karma.
They certainly have enough front line. They've got enough CC. Something else to peel for Misfortune in the back line is what my co-caster is calling for, and that should fit the bill.
This fits 2 bills, actually. It's not just protecting, but he can also work as a mid shield as well. So true. I do like the Terry coming through here. Not sure how strong will it be down there in the bot lane against the Kaisa, Rel / Amumu. but it's going to be a really, really, really effective late game champion, and the ultimate is going to be so valuable for the huge like power bomb composition that Hill Spades is trying to play around with. With the Mordekaiser though now, you get the opportunity
Mhm.
to take away one of these five champions, and I would be willing to bet that he takes either the Orn of or the Taric almost every fight.
Yeah, obviously, Mordekaiser being able to deny the huge team fighting power of the Ornn and the Tarek's ultimates if he does manage to put them into the death realm. So I think that could certainly be a very solid strategy for Flavius on this pick. Feels pretty strong, does the Mordekaiser in the R5 position. And we'll see what they're able to get done. Does offer some AP damage as well, which they weren't necessarily severely lacking. Amumu has a little bit, Kaisa has some, can build towards AP as well if she would like to, but I do feel like that last pick for the Spades is really making their composition very, very well rounded. And there is something that I am a little bit worried about on the side of No Quarter Gaming TDS, and that's the fact that, as you were mentioning just a little bit earlier, it is quite easy for several of these champions on the side of Hail of Spades to actually interrupt that bullet time and Misfortune. And if
Yep.
Misfortune isn't getting damage out in the team fights, who's doing it for NQG?
Lysandra, that's I feel like that's the only answer I can give. It's on the Misfortune, like you're pointing out. Either she hard carries the fight with her damage, or you really don't have a lot of other ways to try and win the fight because the other champions are pretty much set up. Maybe Lysandra a bit more can be justifiably a bit more damage than setup, thanks to the fact that she does build a lot of AP. But the other champions is pretty much set up and being able to tank and survive long enough. So if that's the case, you really have to play fights super effectively as the Misfortune and try and play it so that your ultimate is never cancelled. Easier said than done, but it's going to be a lot on that for the Misfortune.
Yeah, I mean, we do have a lot of tools on the side of No Quarter Gaming to keep the Misfortune safe, right? We have a lot of options for Peel. The Maokai and the Tarek, both exceptional at that. And then Ornn and Lysandra with their own CC as well that they can use for either engage or disengage. So certainly some options here on the side of NQG. But that is, I think, the story that will define this game is, does Misfortune stay safe in the team fights or not?
Will she be able to not die instantaneously? And that's also a lot on Tariq with his ultimate timings, being able to find good opportunities to keep the Misfortune safe. It does have a bit of a prompting time, a bit of a build up time to try and name it
Yeah,
better,
yeah.
right? And the issue here is that with Kai'Sa and Tristana, there is burst damage. That means that will the ultimate come through before they blow you up, or will or does it not matter at all? And the Taric ultimate will be able to come through. That's another thing to try and keep in mind.
Absolutely. It is going to be really interesting to see. We do have confirmation now, as you can see, folks, that Soup Duck is going to be piloting the Rel in the jungle once again. And we do have Mami on the Amumu this time around. So, should be interesting to see where this game does lead us. I understand the logos are swapped, guys. I'm sorry about that. I don't know if I'm going to be able to fix that, but just remember, No Quarter Gaming are on the blue side for this second one, and the Spades are on the red side. What are your thoughts overall, TDS? Do you think that the Misfortune will be able to stay safe with all of these defensive tools that No Quarter have drafted for themselves, or do you think the Spades are once again going to find their way onto that back line with some more dive options that they've drafted for themselves once again, and make game two go in a similar fashion to the first?
I'd love to say that No Quarter Gaming is in a really good spot with their comp, but the issue is that depending solely on Misfortune, if it was something else, maybe a Bane or a Twitch, I would say yes, they can try and play this off. But Misfortune doesn't give me the most confidence at all. So
Hmm.
even though I do think that it's possible, I'm not sure if it's going to happen. I'd be much willing to go for Hail of a Spades comp this time around because I do think they do have better late game in this scenario with the double AD carry. The
Hmm.
Mordekaiser also being a huge factor with the ultimate taking away a crucial target can be massive. And then setup wise, the idea of the composition is still kind of the same: go in or play to go in. And in that situation, at the very least, I feel much more confident that they can execute onto a Misfortune that no Carter Gaming trying to save and allow Misfortune to carry the game.
Yeah, I'm pretty much with you here, TDS. Obviously, we did see in the previous game that the Hail of Spades are very, very proficient at playing out compositions like this. They did it. They did it. Excuse me, exceptionally well just a short while ago. We'll see if they are going to be able to make it happen once again. And for the side of No Quarter Gaming, when I think about hyper carry threats, about single threat compositions, Misfortune definitely not the champion that comes to mind, but maybe Muzra will be able to make it happen. Our first match of season 16, guys. No Quarter Gaming looking to take us to 3. Hail of Spades looking to get that 2-0 start in their season. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back with Style Esports right after this. Welcome back to the Rift, my friends. We're starting things off once again very, very early as the Bandage Toss will connect over the wall and gets both summoners off the Misfortune at level 1. It looks like the stream actually didn't quite catch that in time as we were loading in right as that play was going down. But a good early look from the side of Hail of Spades.
That was a way to start the game, I guess.
It
Immediately
was.
blowing both summoners from Musra. Really good start for Hill of Spades, if you ask me. And they also get a bit of control inside of the enemy jungle.
Yeah, they are going to feel pretty good about that start for sure. As I'm trying to correct the score right now on the stream, this can be very difficult sometimes. Bear with me, guys. I think that worked. Should be Hail of Spades taken. Nope, not quite. Let me try that again. Any runes or summoner spells that you'd like to point out this time around, TDS?
Looking a bit onto what could be surprising, there is the first strike onto the misfortune, so trying to net as much gold as possible, as much gold as you can as a misfortune is always ideal to try and get, especially with your poke potential. And then in the other lanes, I would say maybe the change in summoners from the Kaisa. Wait, a bit of a fighting down there.
A little bit. Mommy Roden going to go in with the bandage toss. Fortress Door taking a lot of damage there. Very, very low. Will also have to flash away. That's another summoner burned in this bottom lane. Hail of Spades. This bot lane of Alifaris and Mommy Rodent really putting the pressure on. There's a nice double up, though.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that I was talking about when you have an engaged support with the Kaisa. Your damage is just so much higher compared to other versions because you get your passive proc so easy and you're able to burst out certain targets without them really expecting that to come through. Mommy Roden doing an amazing job at the engages as well. And even though right now he's getting seen by a ward, it doesn't matter that much because you can still try and thread the potential there. Buck's getting pushed though.
Yeah, the Lissandra surprisingly getting a little bit of prio here in mid lane early on. It's pretty difficult to do usually into Tristana, but Pogs just biding their time probably. Not feeling the pressure just yet. Does scale pretty well, as you were mentioning earlier on the Tristana, as the bandage toss is going to connect once again. No flash for either one of these guys, and the knockup is going to come through from Suit Duck. One more auto attack will be the end of Muzra as Alifaris picks up the double to start off game 2.
And it's such a good execution when you see not only the fact that both bot laners were engaged on Prototype trying to escape here, but both bot laners from the side of Quantum Gaming had no flash. So it was really easy to set up the play. But Beryl coming in on the perfect target and then setting up the CC so that you get first bandage toss into CC from the rail into immediate second bandage toss, setting up for the 2 kills. The execution on that was so crisp from the side of Hail of Spades that at the end, it's Kaisa getting 2 kills. She gets a Noon Quiver on back, by the way.
So huge. That is so hard. Look at versus just a longsword for
Yeah.
Muzra. That is such a massive item diff this early on in the game. And yeah, Suit Duck, that's your game 1 POG, right, TDS? Some exquisite pathing, red buff start into the fast level 3, into the bot gank. Tristana is going to be able to rocket jump away. There's the tree slowly lumbering into mid lane, was not really too threatening for the little Yordle. We'll be able to get away, and now look at everybody waiting in the wings. Rodent going in with the bandage toss. Won't be able to find a victim, though. It'll just be the shove on the minion wave and likely the reset for the Tristana.
I respect the attempt, though. I respect the aggressiveness of Mommy Roden there. Doesn't have Hex Flash, which is kind of sad to try and prompt even more. Oh, wait.
The Tarek doesn't find the Tarek here. The rotation is there from jungle and mid for the follow-up. Crash down coming through. It's the knock-up onto 2. Kaisa a little bit behind this play, though. And Muzra is already here, able to trade back some damage very nicely. And now Protai is flashing in for the double W. Does find the kill, but here comes Alifaris on the backside. It's very, very awkward position right now for the Spades as the Kaisa is trying to get involved. And No Quarter Gaming are saying, no, thank you. We would not like to fight the Kaisa. Let's run away now. We got what we came for. We secured a kill, and we out.
Yeah, that was a perfect fight for the side of Quantum Gaming because the Kaisa was not there. If it was with the Kaisa, they probably win that out so easily. But at the end, because of the numbers advantage, plus the fact that the highest damage dealer wasn't involved, does make Quantum Gaming win that fight. Important as well to point out that the exhaust did come through against Box, and that made that the burst damage from the bomb wasn't as big as it could have been. That also could have threatened, at the very least, a bit of repositioning from the Tristana and more potential damage value onto another member.
Yeah, definitely. Really nice usage of the exhaust there onto the only threat for the side of Halo Spades that was in that fight. And ultimately, yeah, I feel like that was just that roaming trio for Haas. Wasn't expecting Misfortune to be there. They just had no idea that Muzzra was going to be in position to join up with that skirmish so quickly. And they do get punished a little bit, being a man down for when that really did kick off. But they are still slightly ahead, just a couple of hundred gold, nothing really to write home about. But still, we do see that the Hail of Spades are in a reasonably good position in
Oh,
this early game. And remember, they have both of those early kills on Kaisa. So, and the other kill also is on the Tristana. So all of this gold that they've been able to pick up so far is directly into the pockets of the carries. And Protide sitting on 2 kills of their own is going to feel decent for No Quarter Gaming, but Tristana's not going to be able to use that money in the same way as something like a Tristana.
yeah, realistically, even though I do think that giving kills to your mid laner is almost always good, they have to turn that into something of more value. Like they cannot
Right.
let the Lissandra be the one that gets all the gold this game. You need gold until your Misfortune. We talked about this. She's going to be the main damage dealer essentially of this game. So you have to give her items. It looks like potentially she could be going for a Tristan, you're dead.
Oh,
Yep,
Boggs is
she's
very,
dead.
very caught out here. That's going to be way too much CC for the Tristana to get away from. And that is going to be kill number 3 now for Protide on the Frost Lich. Death
Oh,
Realm
Piggy.
utilized by Flavius in this top lane. Piggy able to get pretty close to the turret. Casting the Call of the Forge God
Ooh,
now. Obliterate. It's going to be Flavius flashing in for it and will get the last hit just before the Ram can make a return trip. That's going to be first of the game now for the top laner.
that was as close as it could get, but a 1-for-1 at the end of the day with the kill on top lane and the kill in the mid lane. I have to question Pog's decision making there because I think that you have to try and rocket jump before the ultimate comes through from the Descendant. There was a slight delay, like there was a good opportunity there. Now, maybe the rocket jump was used before, and in that case, Tristan is almost always dead because she cannot escape that. The flash from the MFK, I think, a bit overkill because of the huge amount of CC. Oh, wait, Flavius?
Knock up comes through from Piggy.
Is he dead?
Mordekaiser
Okay,
getting
it's
very,
fine.
very low, but the Ornn damage just not quite enough to get the Mordekaiser down. It is very low, though, and doesn't have teleport. So this is an awkward position for Flavius. The rest of the teams in the area, though, we see this big rotation up into the river as Rift Herald did just spawn a few seconds ago, and already the Spades are on to the neutral. They
Oh,
managed
the
to get the first
engage.
dragon as well as Fortress Door going to get engaged on. Does have the dazzle to get himself towards safety, but Shelly
Oh, Pox
looking
has
like
no
she will
flash
get
now.
taken down. Piggy is going to be able to dive in here. The Herald does go over. The fight looking pretty good, actually, for the side of No Quarter Gaming as the CC comes through, and they're going to be able to get 2 kills on the back of this. Little bit flashbacks for me, actually, TDS, as this was something very similar happened in game 1, but the reverse, right? Where it was the side of Hail of Spades that got the team fight but lost the Herald.
Yeah, they did. This is much better now for Quantum Gaming because of what they are getting in the mid lane. Yes, Kaiser is getting much more value than they're on the bot side. And the big issue in that fight, Mordekaiser, yes, gets off of killing the Ornn in the previous fight, but because he never went back, because he stayed way too long in
Mm-hmm.
top lane without actually needing to, ends up being so late for the actual Herald tick. He cannot join quickly. He cannot
Oh.
allow for or to provide extra damage to the team. And then because of the engage that Tristana and Amumu went for with no flash, and the fact that Tristana used the rocket jump with no reset on the bomb, she was jumped from the start. The Herald is a good thing to try and get here because it's the way to try and boost even more to Alvarez or to the Tristana. That those are two champions that if you do throw the Herald over there, you can boost them up as much as possible. But right now, the mid lane matchup is really one-sided, and Protide is destroying the Tristana as heavily as they could.
True.
And important to note, Tristana came after the Lissandra.
Yeah, also true. Yeah, it was the Tristana in response. I do believe you're absolutely right there. Not really working out for Pog so far. Clearly, we do have an AD mid enjoyer on our hands in this mid laner for the Spades, but not really working out just yet in this game. Tristana is going to scale pretty well, though, so could still have some pop off moments later on. We'll just have to wait and see. And yeah, dropping the Herald in Tristana's lane in particular can be really, really beneficial in trying to get down one of those early turrets. As both junglers we see waiting around mid lane right now. Dazzle
Yeah,
will
honestly,
connect
with the
in
amount
bot. Junglers will now reveal themselves. The Nature's Grasp will come out. The Magnet Storm in response. So both junglers utilizing their ultimates, trying to make something happen. And it will be the side of the Spades that are pushed back for now.
It was a ton of damage that did come through there from the Rel, and because there was reducted resistances on her from this patch, that means that perfect cancel.
Yeah, it's very, very low Lissandra in the mid lane, but Protide is going to be all right. Not going to be giving over that shutdown or anything like that. But yes, that was okay. And we got another fight in the bottom side as Alphars with the killer instinct to try and get away, flashing away from the bullet time. DMFK on the chase, though. The Bramble Smash doesn't have enough range. Jala don't auto-attack the Scryer's Bloom.
Why?
Oh, and he's going to get himself in range for the twisted advance. And now Mami Rodent's going to come in. He's going to try and turn this fight around. The brilliance from the Taric. He's going to keep everybody invulnerable. Mami Rodent flashes for the 3-man ult on the Amumu, and Tristana is still alive, can still carry this fight. The Amumu ducking into the bush, gets out of vision. Muzra is going to be able to get that kill on support in the end, but will go down in a double kill over to Pogs on this Trist mid, and it's going to be a 3-for-2 in favor of the Spades in their own jungle. And now Protide is stuck around trying to contest the blue buff, and the reset on the jump means that Pog is going to be able to get that. Pog indeed gets the shutdown off of Protide, and this Tristana now in a much better position.
That's a huge team fight victory for the side of Hill of Spades. It's not only the dragon that they are going to get, plus the Herald that they are going to be throwing into the mid lane and collect a huge amount of plates.
He doesn't have smite, but he gets it anyway. Oh my god, neither jungler had smite, and Maokai gets it with a Bramble Smash. DMFK,
I don't think it's
nice
worth though.
3-man smash. Surviving for a really long time, but it's not going to matter in the end, as there's nobody who can join him in the pit. So we are even on neutrals. What looked like complete disaster for the side of No Quarter Gaming is honestly a little bit salvaged by that heroic move from the jungler, but still they're going to be very much on the back foot after that one.
So I'll be honest, I think that's a named play from DMFK. I think it's completely not worth at all. You just gave a free kill to Kai'Sa.
I mean, yeah, that's true, but you don't want to give over a second dragon to the Spades after they already won that big fight.
But they are not playing for that. Like, you pretty much can play for the role of a better dragon of your side. And then, even then, your misfortune will find value for the next dragon. Like, I think giving Kai'Sa an even better opportunity to be farther ahead than the misfortune after you already lost that previous fight, I don't think it's worth. I'll argue. Yeah. I'll also try and argue positively, like you're pointing out. It's denying another dragon, and also the fact that it's one of the better individual dragons you're getting as well.
Yeah.
That being said, I still don't think it's the right choice, but at the end, it's the choice that they went for. So.
Fair enough. Well, I'm, as a jungler myself, probably would have gone for it, but there's a reason you're the color guy, right? TDS, as Mami Rodent is going to find the double Amumu ultimate over the wall. The bullet time does come out, but it's not able to get it too much done. And without the misfortune, there's no way that No Quarter Gaming can continue this fight. Another double kill going over to Pogs, 6-2-1 now on the Trist. The MFK going to toss out the Nature. It's going to be doing some grasping, and that's about it.
Yeah, that was a funny ultimate to look out for. Now, I do think that was because they were initially going to engage on the Tristana, but because they saw Mordekaiser and Rel moving out, the decision then was to disengage after they saw the Mordekaiser. So it's an unlucky timing for the Maokai. And also quickly to point out, that ultimate on the DRX skin looks beautiful.
Oh yeah, the DRX Maokai skin? Yeah,
it's the small dragons, right?
Oh, what was that?
I think it's a small dragon, like dragon statues.
Oh, the actual, like the roots of the. Oh,
roots, yeah.
We're gonna have to keep an eye out for that next time because I didn't actually catch that. But we do have a Shirley fight that is happening right now. Flavius is gonna look to put somebody in the death realm. The Herald has been secured already by someone. As Suitdog looking to try and make back towards that. Alphars is very much caught out on the flank here. Muzro will be able to get that kill onto the enemy marksman as Flavius is flashing forward. Will get down the Lissandra, but Misfortune is still alive. Herald has been secured by the side of Suitdog and Hail of Spades, and they looks like they will be able to win out in the team fight as well. As Muzra has stuck around a little bit too long, it seems there's nobody left to peel for the Misfortune. They will be able to take that kill. Flavius also a little bit overextending on the other side of the fight. That's where the front line went. I guess Mordekaiser was distracting them. It will be a 3-for-2 plus the objective. Hail of Spades on top once again. Oh, Suitdog though, he's fine.
He's fine. I will argue though in favor of Flavius in that play, or not in favor, but we'll say why he was over there. He essentially came from the river into the enemy jungle, surviving a 1v3 since the start of that fight. So that was just him surviving for as long as he could, while the rest of the team were able to get a couple of kills.
The Mordekaiser?
Yeah, the Mordekaiser.
Yeah,
I think it's impressive actually from Flavius. He was supposed to die way before in that fight, and he survived for way too long in comparison.
He did. He did. I didn't quite see who he was able to cast the ultimate on. I don't know if you caught that. It was in the death room. It was Mount. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's exactly who you want to be casting that on as well. Deny the possibility of the smite steal and the Maokai as well. You know, not being in the thick of things to provide that additional lockdown, I'm sure was very, very beneficial for the Spades in that team fight. Setting up now, we do have our third dragon, our first mountain, going to be spawning in under a minute. TDS. Herald already utilized as well by the Duck. I didn't actually see where Herald was dropped. I guess in mid lane to take that tier 1.
Yeah, it was used to take tier 1, and it got a bit of a clash into the tier 2 as well.
Oh, the charge from the tier 2 as well. That is really nice value for the Spades. Controlling this South River at the moment as well. Going to be clearing out a little bit of vision, but the side of No Quarter Gaming, as we can see, not willing to give this up whatsoever. Pressing in now into the river as for both top laners are moving down as well, and both have their ultimate abilities. Mordekaiser doesn't have a tier 1, though. Is going to have to utilize the Death Realm very, very early. Has the Lissandra in there with them, looking to get at least that 1 kill onto the mid laner. The flash is a little bit early from Protide. Lissandra is going to go down as the first casualty in this fight. Is a huge bullet time, though, from Misfortune. The interrupt does eventually come through, but has the damage already been done? The Amumu is doing so much work, so much CC in this backline, and eventually somebody will manage to get on top of Muzra. I believe it was Pogs once again who jumped in there on the Tristana, and it looked like a really close fight. It was so close. TDS to being what NQG were looking for. The bullet time looked really good for a second there, but in the end, it was not enough. Maybe just a little bit too far behind.
In reality, it really was. Like, I feel like if the bullet time cast for at the very least 2 seconds, right? It lasted a bit, and he was able to deal a lot of damage. The issue is what we talked about with the Rel, right? Anything from her cancels out Misfortune. Like, her existence, it's built to cancel Misfortune, sadly, for the side of Quantum Gaming. So as long as she gets on top of her, she's able to deny the bullet time going longer. And the Rel does a magnific job in that fight. But I will have to say, the biggest winner in that fight to me, and the biggest reason why Hill of Spades wins that fight, is Flavius, although he's dying here.
Yeah, I mean, he got it jumped on, but he played it out quite well, as he does not have the Death Realm this time around, and there's not really going to be any outplaying this one, as Muzra does manage to lock down that kill. Number 4 for the MF, number 12 for No Quarter Gaming. But they are down about 5,000 here, TDS. And when we recall how decisive that first game was when Hail of Spades managed to get their lead, I don't know. I have the feeling that Baron Nashor is going to be absolutely terrified as he makes his way onto Summoner's Rift. Might not be alive for too long.
Yes, but at the same time, I think that this is much lesser of a gold lead compared to the previous game. So, at the very least, as a comparison point to the previous game, I think they are doing already better in terms of just how far behind they are compared to the previous one. But they are still in a tough spot. Like, they lose one fight, it's Baron buff, and I think that it's really difficult to stop the Baron buff push from the side of Hill of Spades. Yeah. Like, they have no good wave clear.
Yeah. It is really... I mean, you have bullet time, but if you're using bullet time for wave clear, then that's not really the situation you want to be in. Baron's setup is commencing, but No Quarter Gaming are not going to let this one get snuck away again. At least they are in the area contesting for vision this time around, but might that actually be their demise as Mommy Rodent looks for the bandage, will find it, commits with the Curse of the Sad Mummy as well. They're trying to burst down and destroy the Terror Cultivate, will get off, and the big CC in the backline from the Oran Piggy trying to make something happen here, but Alaparis and Pogs do manage to keep themselves safe, whereas Misfortune, whereas Muzra is getting dove on. He does manage to take down the Amumu. It's a battle front to back this time around, as the Mordekaiser did manage to get DMFK, the Juggler, trapped in the Death Realm, but Maokai will survive for now as Muzra moving, flashing forward. trying to get the damage out, but eventually, Pogs jumps in. The bomb will go off, but the Tristana gets traded back in an absolute mess of a team fight. It all comes down, TDS, to a 1v1 between the top laners as 8 players are dead, and Piggy AI desperately trying to get underneath
he
the
flashed, wait.
He's flashing, he's looking for it, but the mace, it's gonna come down one more time. And the Ornn is going into the gray screen as Flavius absolutely makes
Flavius,
it happen.
Flavius, wait, no!
Flavius! He's okay, TDS.
It's fine, he's alive. And he has teleport. So we're ready for round 2 anyway.
Oh my goodness. Yes, round 2 is going to be happening. Mordekaiser, the teleport has Mordekaiser has teleport. So
yes.
He is going to be able to get back out onto the map if we are going directly into that second round.
There it is.
Here he comes. Well, that's a teleport. He has no ult, by the way, or flash. He's fine. He's got his Mumu there to back him up.
He's tanky enough, and that's the most important part. You're starting it already.
We're burning it. This Baron's down to 50%. The Ornn is teleporting now, but he's going to be here too late. The Forge God will not be called upon soon enough as the Baron is smote away by the Duck. The engage comes out as well from the Rel, and they're going to burst down Muzra right at the start of this fight as Misfortune was trying to move in there to maybe make a miracle steal happen with the bullet time, but it was not to be. The objective secure and the turn were both there for the Spades, and they're getting multiple aces in this one. It's looking like 4 of a kind. They're coming out way ahead, looking for that 2-0 tonight.
It's really looking like that, and with the amazing turnaround in the team fight, they get control over the Baron buff. They burst Baron buff like you were calling out, and then Mommy Rodin fighting as hard as possible with Soot Dog to try and be the player of the match in my eyes, because those two have been playing out of their minds tonight with their engages, with their setup for the team has been immaculate so far, and nobody died. Oh, yeah, I should be fine, I think.
We don't want to be overstaying here. The respawns have come through. Fortress Store is looking for some... Muzra, you got to be careful, man. This Misfortune is stepping very far forward. The Terror Ultimate is there. Flavius is turning for the fight. Doesn't have the Death Realm, though. The Mordekaiser will be able to walk it out. The bullet time will get the shutdown on Pogs. Muzra able to pick one up there. The chase continuing. Verotide flashing forward. Gets the Lissandra ult out. The Glacial Tomb will lock down the top lane, and another shutdown will go over to No Quarter Gaming. They are not going quietly. TDS is now Rodent. Maybe caught out. He has a blast cone. Gonna get over the wall. In goes the Rel. The lockdown is there. The 3-man Magnet Storm. Alifara is doing so much damage. Killer Instinct in. And there goes the Misfortune. They found the threat once again. Tale of Spades. They've just surgically assassinated Muzra over and over again in these fights. The Forge God doing everything that he can. Alifara is cleansing, dashing, trying to get away, and just barely. The Kaisa will survive as the Hail of Spades will take yet another team fight.
Movie Rodin stealing the pentakill off of Alfaraz. So unlucky, so sad. I'm glad, a tiny bit glad, because I'm not a fan of giving up pentas, but Fear Alfaraz in that fight, playing as best as he could to try and get it. At the end, though, they win another fight. They win a really important turnaround that was almost the potential comeback into the game for the side of Quantum Gaming, and that is also going to be Soul Point going into the pockets of the side of Hill of Blade of Spades.
Yeah. And if we give this composition Mountain Soul with Rel, Amumu, and Mordekaiser into just Misfortune as your only real threat on the other side, there's just so much to get through in terms of health bars and resistances here. It would just be so hard. Almost unwinnable, I want to say, for NQG, if that eventuality does come to pass.
It's kind of difficult now to stop it. Like, we talked about how with Baron Bob, it's really difficult for them to try and stop the push because they don't have, like, great wave clear. And now with extra items, it's really difficult in a lot of those team fight situations. Mordekaiser is about to get his third item, I would assume, with this back. Rel has 3 items as well. Extra protection for Alfaraz. You have the Amumu as well, giving penetration for the magical damage from both the Mordekaiser and the Kaisa. Yeah. And then you have so much damage on the Tristana and the Kaisa as well, with double AD carries that will scale into the late game. So every bit is just stacking a bit against what the side of Quantum Gaming can accomplish.
Yeah, it's looking pretty difficult for them. You know, they still have the angle, right? They just need the miracle, the perfect team fight If they can set up the perfect fight, they can
Oh,
still win it. But this is not looking like the perfect fight as Musra. Oh, but the Mumu is going to get forced back as the Brilliance will come out from the turret. Mummy Rodent is getting burned down. Oh, but the
oh,
killer is taking
Alcaraz.
over the wall. We had found Musra again. Alafaris instantly
Wait.
assassinates the carry once again. Ornn and the Maokai are trying to do everything that they can. They're trying to burn people down with their bomby cinders, but it's just the DPS isn't there, TDS. There's just nothing they can do. They lost their misfortune at the start of the fight once again, despite their best efforts, despite Musra trying to be creating with the positioning there, casting the bullet time from over the wall. There's nowhere that Kaisa can't find you. Alafaris immediately jumps in there, takes out the enemy carry. 14, 3, and 9 on the Kaisa, 2 games in a row for this guy on the pick. And it has been clinical. It has been pretty clean from the Spades. Looking to close this one out. It took a little bit longer than game 1. No Quarter Gaming have held on for a little bit longer than they were able to previously, but it's not going to be enough for them, I don't think, in the end, as Flavius and Suitduck do need to make their way out of this bottom lane. They will be able to do so.
Yeah, not going to be the end of the game just yet because the spawn timings were good and they didn't break enough of the base before to be able to actually try and prompt an end game push in that play. But at the end of the day, another teamfight victory. Even in the bot lane, Protai died to Pox 1v1, so they got value in
Oh, I
each
missed
of
that.
the places in the map.
Oh man, yeah, it's just so much online at this point in the game for the Spades. They have so many threats, and they've just absolutely had no quarters number in these fights. Just a really, really strong read in tonight's match, honestly.
Yep.
And they have been executing very well with their dive compositions. Only one lane left to play for now, as we already see Pogs in position, looking to make a beeline down that top side.
And with Rosana pushing, they pretty much secured a doubling turret immediately, and Baron is also spawning in 10 seconds. They could actually just go to rush it as well, but on the
Yeah,
side, they
probably the
know this
safer
could
call.
happen.
I mean, honestly, when you already have 2 inhibitors down, I kind of like just playing for the 3rd inhibitor. Like, if the enemy team moves towards Baron, you just take the 3rd inhibitor
Wait.
and then probably the Nexus afterwards. As Maokai is going to go in here. He's desperately
He's gonna
trying to
go
get in
out.
towards this Baron pit, but it's just not
Oh.
going to work out. As Muzra has been trapped by the Mordekaiser. There is nobody even close to that misfortune. Flavius just walks in there. That
Flavius is
dense
alone.
grasp and the
Oh, no.
obliterate was insane, as Flavius is doing so much
Yeah,
work
that's
here.
big.
This is a fight without either of their AD carries. Flavius just winning it by himself, basically. So the Baron will get taken down. Another team fight for the Halo of Spades, and now they're moving into the base to end the game.
This is 100% the end of it. They are padding their stats, they are gaining more kills and closing out the match. 2-0 performance tonight by the side of Halo of Spades.
Yeah.
What a match by them. Really well done, and huge props to Suitduck and Mommy Rodin. Yes, the carries did damage, but to me, they were the ones that allowed them to do as much damage as they could.
Absolutely. Really fantastic performance by Halo of Spades, and in particular, Mummy Rodent and Suitduck, as you were just calling out, and Flavius as well. Honestly, I feel like the Mordekaiser this game was doing so much work. Did he top the damage charts again? He did. 2 games in a row, Flavius on top of the damage charts, 38k
Makes sense.
this time around on the Mordekaiser. Absolutely insane.
It really was.
He had
performance by
Tristana
him.
and Kaisa on his team, and he still out damaged both of them.
Well, he also had the Ornn technically, so
Oh,
hitting
that's
the
true.
mid
That's a
shield
good point.
does give you a bit more damage. But I will say, I feel like most of the fights he created a lot of the space and finding important targets with his ultimate. I think the most targets he ulted were Lissandra, that was slightly fed, Maokai that without throwing out the ultimate, so technically he would have found a lot of value thanks to that ultimate. And then the other one was the Tarek, which does have ultimate value as well. Important targets to try and lock down out of the fight and be able to kill them in a win well, or at least, at the very least, take away from the threat of the team.
Yeah, I think it was absolutely, as you say, played out very, very well. But overall, the team just looking very cohesive, clearly drafting in a cohesive way and then playing things out in a very, very coordinated manner also.
Yeah.
So big props to them. You know, no Quarter Gaming, particularly in that second game, I did feel were doing their very best to try and hang on. You know, they were trying to set up in this neutral territory as best they could. They were trying, everything they could think of to keep Muzra safe, but it just wasn't working. It was just the hail of spades. Somebody always able to get on top of that MF and burst her down towards the beginning of those fights. There was that one fight in mid lane where Misfortune actually got to channel bullet time for like 2 full seconds, and that was almost enough to get No Quarter Gaming at least one team fight win. But they were just, the fights ended up being so consistently in favor of the Spades that, at that point, there's really not much you can do.
Exactly. Could have been a different game if that fight goes more in their favor. But it's also why I was a bit skeptical of the composition from the side of Quantum Gaming.
Yeah.
Depending solely on the Misfortune, it's doable, but it's really difficult because, like we saw, if they get on top of her, then you pretty much lose out on the fight because it's not easy to stop, or it's not easy for her to get as much damage as possible in the meanwhile. And the Lissandra was doing a good job, but she's no carry. She's not going to be your secondary or primary carry in certain situations. She's going to provide through the team. And that was, I feel like, the difference maker to the other side, where there were good setup, but double hyper carries in the form of the 280 carries in the other team. So really difficult to go against that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Protide, remember, was so strong, heading into the mid game was 4-0 on the Lissandra. Yep. Did manage to get to 2 items very, very quickly, but the champ just doesn't do consistent damage. It's not in the kit. She's all set up and burst is what Lissandra can offer for the team. And that just wasn't enough in this scenario. I don't think Protide was even necessarily playing it badly either. Like, I just feel like it really did kind of come back to the drafts and the way that the Spades were able to execute in the fights.
Exactly. It's pretty much on that when you go back to it. So if they can change a couple of things, I can see Quantum Gaming finding more value. It's just that most of the time they are losing out because of a couple of small decisions, realistically.
Yeah, absolutely. But overall, big congrats to the Hail of Spades. They are looking absolutely fantastic heading into this season. Exactly the start I'm sure that they were hoping for tonight. Who's your game 2 POG? Are you looking at Suit Duck once again? You were on the fence. I remember you saying between Suit Duck and Mommy Rodent here for this second POG.
I will take Mommy Rodent this time around. I feel like the Amumu game was so good with the engages from him.
Definitely. The Amumu was quite clean. I can remember multiple Curse of the Sad Mummies that were hitting onto, 3-4 members that were really deciding those fights, it felt like, in a big way. The setup for the Trist and the Kaisa was really, really nice across the board here for the Spades. And then follow-up was there. The carries absolutely delivered. The ball was up in the air, and they were able to catch it and slam it down into the hoop. Really nice from the entire squad. But that's about it for us tonight, I believe, TDS. Do you have any final thoughts on tonight's match or anything in particular that you're looking forward to this season?
It's a good way to start the season. Going to be a lot of fun matches, a lot of fun teams to watch out for, and I'm certainly excited to get more opportunities to cast. Also, you can follow me at TDS Casts if you want.
Of course. We've got those Twitter handles in the stream title, guys. So please, if you enjoyed the content tonight, feel free to go ahead and drop us some follows. That is going to do it for us tonight. So from myself, from TDS here, from the entire production team at Style Esports, thank you everybody so much for watching. We really appreciate y'all very, very much. And we do hope to see you next time, as we're going to have lots of matches coming up as season 16 does get underway. We'll see you next time from us here. Thank you again, and